Today's job is to work on the rudder and get that detached from the boat. Good morning. It's we're on day 3 and we got our boat all organized as you've seen yesterday. Today's job is to work on the rudder and get that detached from the boat. So I've cleared out this cabin or this aft berth here, and I'm crawling way in the back into the back of the boat to unbolt the steering assembly, the stuff that allows you to steer. So that's going to be fun. There's a bit of a tight spot, but there's only a few bolts that I have to take out. Bit of the steering assembly that I'm gonna have to mess with back here. We've got a few bolts that I have to unbolt there. I don't know if you can see them, it's a bit dark back here and I only have my headlamp. See that? There we go. So yeah, undo those 4 bolts, that hose clamp, and then that clamp down at the bottom down here is gonna hold the rudder in place until we drop it out of the boat.
Well, I'm organizing the kitchen.
Woo!
The only issue is that, so look at my little drawers. Looks beautiful.
Pretty.
Doesn't fit.
Oh.
So I'm gonna have to figure out something for like the bigger steering kind of appliances and knives, because they don't really fit in those. So right now I'm just kind of organizing it so that everything works. So that everything has a home. But look at those.
Oh, look at that. Beauty.
I'm excited.
So yeah, I guess we can hang up a bunch of those things.
We could throw out this one and keep that one.
There you go. Perfect.
Yay! Problem solved.
Alright, so the first boat project begins. I got me a handful of tools and I'm going into this dark abyss. Wish me luck.
Core is working in tight quarters.
Yeah, it's a little bit tight here. You just gotta pass a bolt through. Watch out! It's yoga. Here you go.
Thank you. I dropped it.
That's alright. Well, we got the steering assembly all taken off. These are the parts. I had to borrow a long handle wrench because this wasn't enough torque. This small little thing. I need a pipe to put on the end to give myself more leverage. But if you look in the sink, that's what we took off. And now we just got 1 bolt to remove. Alright, so we got it all undone, all the steering assembly there. Now we just have this one last bolt down here. Oh, I'm covering all the light, darn it. Let's try this again. Alright, we just have this one last bolt down here to remove. Once we get lifted in the slings, we need to lift it a couple feet to be able to pull it out, and then we'll be good to go. So that's coming up next, after we grab some lunch.
So this is a very, very exciting moment in the sailboat life. I'm actually using my kitchen, or my galley, should I say. So it's really fun because I've got my fridge, I've got my sink, we even have a toaster because we're connected to shore power. And I'm making us some nice sandwiches because we're gonna eat, because we're gonna be lifted up in less than an hour.
There's tons of wind. We got a very windy day here on Lake Erie. We got the rudder out, so this is the big job that we have to do before we get into the water, other than painting, which is, you know, sanding and painting. That's a typical thing. So here's our issue we're running into. If you come over, you might be able to tell we got a bit of dimples here. It's not smooth. Hear how the sound there. Then it's a lot more hollow up here. So, and if you look closely, you can actually push down on it. It's delaminated from itself. It's bubbled up. You can see where the fiberglass here. So, we're back from shopping. It was fun. Got all sorts of sweet stuff. Got some power tools, because we're gonna need these two things on lots of occasions. So we got an orbital sander, which will help us get all that old bottom paint off the bottom of our boat before we paint with some fresh bottom paint. And then we got this oscillating tool multi-kit that essentially will allow me to cut the rudder and do the repairs on the rudder, as well as cut anything else that we need to cut, which is really awesome. We won't need to have like a skill saw or anything like that, because this will do most of the jobs. Unless we need to cut a really straight line along something, then we might want a skill saw. Anti-fouling here, when it goes on, it's a darker blue, and then it gets lighter like this, and then you've got a layer of like almost like a primer sort of thing, that darker color, and then you've got your protective layer that covers the fiberglass. That's almost like I guess a gel coat, but not as thick as a gel coat. I don't remember what she called it. And then you get down to your fiberglass. Woo! Let's go.
So while Corey is going crazy at sanding the rudder to prep it before cutting, I'm gonna start doing some dishes and prepping some food because I am starved. So let's get on to supper! Making some supper using the kitchen again. So tonight we will have some
What do you got there?
chicken pesto pasta with some peppers. It's gonna be pretty awesome, I think.
Using your mom's old school.
Oh yeah, this thing is an antiquity. So we've got our lovely instructions to know what we're turning on.
Currently it's on number 1, the left element, high heat, 1000 watts. I like it.
Corey's turning into a smurf.
Alright, hey guys, hopefully you can hear me over the grinder. Alex is just finishing the other side of the rudder, as you can see here. And I'm going to keep scraping away at the paint here. So I'm just trying to get rid of as much paint as possible before we use the sander, because some of it just comes off quite easily, as you can see. All the layers of paint off, all the way down to fiberglass. Alex did this side and I did the other side and the edges. Oh. Alright, let's flip her over. We got the side of the rudder that we're gonna have to repair. So if you look closely, you can see somebody's already drilled multiple holes all over the place here to relieve some water that must have been inside. And you can see it, and maybe you can hear that. There's some air coming out because there's a big pocket of air in here. We also have what seems like, if you can see it in the sun here, we have some stainless steel that connects to this arm here that goes to the shaft, which comes down here. So I think what we have is a box like this here, and then another box here, and then maybe even a top one, I'm not sure. But there's at least 1, 2, and most likely 3 of these fingers that come out, and then this bar that goes down, at least for the bottom piece, maybe the top piece, I can't see it at the top. So my plan now is to cut inside this metal here, a small square here. Originally I was going to cut all the way across and do a big screen, but I think I'm going to have trouble with the metal bars here, so I'm going to do smaller sections. Somebody in the yard here, there's a lot of helpful people, so we're getting lots of suggestions from lots of different people. So I've got a few different game plans to go with. We got the little cube, our little TV screen cut out of here. Now we're just trying to apply the fiberglass from the foam here. Some spots it's still stuck, and other spots it's already delaminated. We've removed all of the compound from the bottom of the rudder. You can see here there's some pretty gnarly gouges at the bottom that were filled with some compound. So I've removed all that to see what the glass was like, or what the foam was like, because it was so deep. And we've also actually lifted up, if you want to look down here, we lifted up the fiberglass in one of the sections and realized that the foam is actually in good condition. It's not all rotted out. So good news, we're just going to be able to fiberglass that back over, and that's going to be an easy fix. But now, instead of cutting this next section, I'm going, as some people suggested, I'm going to check the connection where the fingers that come off here to support the structure of the rudder, where they come off and meet the shaft here, there's a weld point. So what I want to do is check those weld points while I got it already all tore up. Might as well check those and make sure they're not corroded or damaged or anything. So I'm going to check those, and then hopefully we'll be ready to re-glass. We're a lot further ahead on our rudder than we expected. Sorry we didn't get much filmed. We had an unexpected impromptu lesson on fiberglass from somebody who's done quite a bit of fiberglass, a friend of ours, Goopy. Anyways, so she was nice enough to give us some tips and explain a few things and show us, you know, the different types of matting and how the different strengths, because she actually works in the industry and did some tests while she was at work. So we got to see how strong, you know, 16-ounce matting was comparing to, say, 24 or 48 and so on and so forth. And we also finished our rudder, well, finished as much of our rudder as we're going to do today. So if you can come over here, I'll show you. We used this Play-Doh type stuff that's essentially, it's just got fiberglass and resin mixed in to fill our big gouge that we had cut out. We had sanded that all down to get rid of all the filler, because it looks like somebody either hit a rock or hit something at some point and gouged the bottom of the rudder all the way down to the foam. And we also, if you can see up front here, it might be a little low lighting, but there's a square pocket of blue that we also filled with that same putty stuff. I forget what it's called. But anyway, she had it. It's really great stuff. It's essentially pure fiberglass. And we filled a little area that we had cut down to take a look at the aluminum. Essentially, we just cut down until we made it to fiberglass, like you'll see in the video. And then we use a little Dremel tool just to get, drill a small hole to see what the stainless steel looked like, not the aluminum. And it looked nice and shiny. There was no rust, so we feel okay with resealing this and finishing our rudder. Really, essentially, we're going to repaint it. First, we got to inject some foam. So if you look down here one last time, we got our little area that we showed you earlier that we already cut out, and you can see the foam on the underside. So we're going to fill that with foam on the underside and clamp that down. And then up here where we have another big dimple, we're going to do the same thing. Actually, we're going to drill a few holes and put some expanding foam in and let the foam fill the cavity, clamp it down, and that should do the trick for our two cavities that we have. Then we're going to wrap the whole thing in fiberglass again.